second virtual fans forum, and since we last met, of course, the Pilgrims promotion from Sky Bet League 2 confirmed by the EFL thanks to that points per game method, and the club now focused on a return to the third tier. Of course, not like any other close season, is it? The coronavirus pandemic continues to impact day-to-day life. Football no different, and these unprecedented times in sport, and of course clubs up and down the country are having to wrestle with the financial realities of the current crisis. Well, I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by the club chairman, Simon Hallett. Simon, good morning to you.
Morning, Sparksy.
Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you very much. Available at the club store.
I can imagine that your email must be just going frantic and everything you're just trying to work out at the moment.
Yeah, the messages are coming in, and as usual, I direct them all to Andrew.
And of course, Andrew Parkinson, we can all see on screen as well. Good afternoon, Andrew, another busy man.
Yeah, very busy. Hi, Sparksy and everybody.
And also with us this afternoon, you'll see our promotion-winning manager, Ryan Lowe, who, alongside Argyle's success this season, I think you're celebrating something else, Ryan, aren't you, this week?
Yeah, we'll celebrate Argyle first and foremost. But yeah, obviously, listen, it's nice to, to see Liverpool crown Premiership champions also. So, good month.
I'll ask you what I asked you before we went live just now. Have you sobered up yet?
Told you I haven't had a drink for over a week. Sparksy, I'll celebrate at the right times, I think.
Well done. Well, a lot of questions for you guys to go through this afternoon. Many have been pre-selected. Of course, it was all advertised on the Argyle website a week ago, and a lot of you have been getting in contact with us. But we'll do our best to fit in some live questions before the end of our hour. So if you're watching on our YouTube channel, you can put some questions in there, and fingers crossed we may get there on the YouTube screen. So the first question, and this comes from David Doidge, also Tony Salter, Gary Palmer, and Derek Bartrop asking a similar question. When are you hoping to have 2021 season tickets on sale? Alongside many others, we're willing to purchase tickets, whether we will be able to attend early games or not, to help the club financially. Simon?
I'm going to hand that one over to Andrew, actually. I'm off to a cracking start.
Yeah, in the spirit of what Simon just said, of course. Yeah, so it's obviously been really tricky because we've been waiting for a number of things. One is to find out which division we would be in. Equally, when football might return, and of course, the whole uncertainty of the timings of those things as well. So we've still got a lot of those challenges ahead. It's by no means clear as to when we might return, but the indication would be that it would be sort of maybe end of September time. And that being the case, and of course I say that it's caveated hugely, then we would look to be on sale imminently. That again comes with some opportunities as well, and which I'm sure we'll cover later on. Whether we can get fans in, or some fans, or behind closed doors. But there may be some streaming opportunities too, which I'm sure we'll cover later. But the intention is to go out on sale very soon.
But it is great, Simon, that fans are so willing in numbers to part with their money already.
Yeah, we're very grateful to the fans, but having said that, there's been a lot of talk about fans not asking for refunds on last season's tickets. And I really do just want to emphasize that anybody who wants a refund on last season's ticket can have one. There's no pressure from us. We realize these are tough times. That bit of money coming in for some people is going to be crucial. So, if you want a refund, please let us know by June 30th. And you'll have one. But the fans have been fantastic. The crowdfunding was a success. We're very, very grateful to the fans for standing behind the club at this time.
Next question is aimed to you, Ryan, and it comes from Steve Isherwood, John Treharne, and Dan Dolan. And they say, as a management team, you've consistently highlighted the importance of smart recruitment, and given the financial impacts of COVID-19, how confident are you that you can build an experienced squad that will make us competitive in League One in the coming season? And how has it been possible to calculate a budget with so much unknown?
Yeah, well, to be fair, Sparksy, I don't think it doesn't necessarily have to be experience. Just have to have a good squad like we had last season. And then obviously the smart recruitment has continued on still from, I think I would say around December time, when we had a good idea of we were going to get promoted, and that's not being big-headed about it, but we knew where we were at. We knew what we needed, the point tally, the games per points. We knew we were on track for it. And yet, listen, obviously the uncertain circumstances that have arose now, but we just keep planning. We keep going. We've got stages, me and Andrew and the board of directors, of what we have to go through. We've just passed stage one in re-signing all the players that deserved a new contract, well, majority of them anyway. And yeah, we'll just keep working hard until, as Simon and Andrew have said, until we get dates of when we're going to be playing, when we can announce season tickets and stuff that goes with it, and certainly when the fans are going to be in the stadiums, because we're still uncertain on all that type of stuff. But we're all right, we're fine. We've got our targets. Our targets have been with us for the last few months. We've spoke to their agents, especially the ones out of contract, and they're still happy to come and play for Argyle. So hopefully in the near future we can have potentially a couple of more signings to add to the terrific squad we've already got.
So those targets are still available that you've got in mind?
We lost one. We lost one a couple of weeks ago. Went to a Scottish team, which is only right. You know, that the contract was there for him. He was actually out of contract, so we couldn't. And again, look, majority of the players now have got contracts up until the 31st of July because they get a severance pay. So I think it's fair to say that money situations will be a bit different. So that most players are clinging on to that extra little bit of money they're going to get in July's severance pay. And then we're ready to just jump right in and get them when we can. But again, we have to make sure that everything's right. We need to know when the dates are coming back, pre-season, when fans are going to be in the stadiums, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Next question is going to be towards you, Simon, and it's the proposed £2.5 million salary cap. And is it fair on a club like Argyle, who can increase turnover compared with other smaller clubs? Although larger attendances in corporate venues such as hospitality are in place, will teams find a way to circumvent this as they have with other forms of FFP? Graham Clark and Phil Steer both putting that question forward.
Well, first of all, I don't think anything's fair at the moment. You know, points per game was unfair on some clubs. It was very good for Argyle, but unfair on other clubs, I think. So we're constantly looking at the least unfair solutions. I have actually argued at the various venues where we've discussed salary caps that it should be relative to resources, as the question implies. And I should also add that Argyle's whole strategy over the last few years has been to invest in infrastructure, to invest in people, so that we can generate higher sustainable revenues. Now, of course, we just have higher costs and no opportunity to generate those revenues. Having said that, it does look like the way that the EFL is going is towards some kind of fixed cap and possibly fixed or limited squad size. If that is the case, we will have greater resources relative to other clubs that can't be spent on the first team. And that gives us an opportunity to do two things. Firstly, it gives us an opportunity to be smarter than other clubs about how we spend what's likely to be the same amount of money. We're already learning how to do that through the use of data analytics. So we should be able to spend the same amount of money but get a higher quality squad. So I think when it comes to the first team, in some ways, it'll be an opportunity to continue doing and to benefit from the work that we've done so far. For the rest of the club, having extra resources, having spare resources, is an opportunity to invest elsewhere, to invest in training facilities, to invest in the fan experience, as we've done over the last few years. So it's not all bad. I would prefer that cap was relative to a club's resources, but it's not all bad, and I think it'll provide us an opportunity to do some other things.
I think the other thing I would add there too is that you know, in these times as well, we do have to think of the wider game, and we need to be able to play other clubs as well. So the fact that we may have more resources than other clubs is one thing, but clearly we've got to be able to play other teams who don't have as many resources. So limiting them is probably a good thing in these times, particularly.
Yeah, fair point.
I think a lot of the fans appreciated the forthright comments that you made a couple of weeks ago, Simon, when you talked about your next instalment of money going into the club and the possibility that there may be no more. You were being very realistic, many fans thought, with that statement.
It's not a possibility that there'll be no more. There will be no more. That money has gone in, actually just this week, finally hit the Argyle bank account. So it's enough to make sure that Argyle is financially secure in the next 12 months, whatever happens. After, if we get back to playing football, of course, that money is still there, and it will be available to ease the path towards long-term sustainability, which was always our goal. So Argyle at the moment, is a sustainable football club despite the dreadful environment. And let's just re-emphasize that. As Andrew has said and as Ryan has hinted, there is so much uncertainty in football at the moment. Some clubs are going out and building squads. In my view, they're making promises that they don't know whether they're going to be able to keep. The risk that clubs go to the wall over the next few months is still there. Nobody has solved the basic problem that football clubs, particularly in the lower leagues, have costs but no revenues. So, as Ryan said, we've been building a squad for next season very cautiously. And I think that the environment is going to be to our advantage as we continue to be cautious. But it does mean that fans are going to have to be patient. We're not going to go out and buy expensive players now. The first goal is survival. The second goal is making sure that we have a competitive squad. But it's going to take time.
Thank you. Next question, Ryan. So many fans have asked this particular question. I think you know what's coming. Peter Hughes, Merv, just two of the fans about the speculation linking you to Bolton Wanderers, which has obviously got some fans very concerned. Can you reassure supporters that you're staying at Plymouth Argyle?
I can reassure the supporters I've got 2 years left on my contract. If Mr. Hallett wants to up it, then that's fine. I'm not going anywhere. But listen, we've spoke about this, and I'm reading some of the things. People say my body language looks terrible. Me and Simon have got a rift. No, we haven't.
What?
We've got a great relationship. If you read them. Now, what I don't want to happen here is we don't have to come out and say if I've been Bookie's favourite for A job or B job or C job. It happens. Listen, we've had 2 back-to-back promotions. Of course, people are going to potentially want to hire us. But at this moment in time, we're contracted to Plymouth Argyle Football Club. We love it. Me, my staff, my players that have come down. And look, who knows in football where football takes you in the future. But at this moment in time, I'm fully committed to Plymouth Argyle Football Club. We don't want to keep coming out when there's speculation and saying, oh, no, there's no truth in this, there's no truth in that. Because it's just basically... It's for lazy journalists who want to report on stuff instead of reporting on real stuff. So we're not going to come out and comment on anything that I'm linked with or Andrew's linked with. Who's to say Andrew hasn't been linked with the CEO's job at Liverpool Football Club? No one knows about it just because there's no betting for it. Who's to say Simon Hallett's not going to buy Red Sox? There's no betting for it. How do you know he's not doing it? So we're going to keep it all in-house. And look, as I've said, we're literally, me, my staff and everyone associated who've come with us, committed to Plymouth Argyle Football Club. So all the moaners and the groaners out there and all the keyboard warriors who are spreading rumours, please stop it because it doesn't help. Thanks.
Ryan's after an extended contract, Simon.
Sorry, Gordon?
Ryan's after an extended contract.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Thank you. Over to Andrew.
With your CEO head on, Andrew, I mean, this is something that every football club in the lower divisions has to face when the manager's having a successful time, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's testament in some ways to the success Ryan's brought to us. you know, he's going to be linked with other jobs, but that doesn't mean, as Ryan has said, that we need to have to comment every time there's a rumor or a piece of speculation on in that regard. It makes sense, you know, in this particular case, because Ryan's twice obviously got teams from League Two to League One, but it's no more than that, and the club shouldn't have to comment on that at every turn too. So, as he said, he's fully committed.
Okay, thank you. Don't forget, if you missed the announcement earlier, if you're watching on the Plymouth Argyle YouTube channel, you can put some questions in that we hopefully will be able to get to before the end of our hour at 3 o'clock. We're going through questions that were invited through the Plymouth Argyle website a week ago, and you've been answering in your droves, particularly Nigel Jackson, Gary Rosevear, Merrick Kirsten, Martin Wathen, and Derek Neal, who would like to put this point to you, Andrew. If reduced capacity is in play at the start of the new season, how will Argyle prioritise which supporters will attend games first? Will there be a streaming alternative, iFollow or something similar, for paying supporters who are unable to attend games but do hold season tickets?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and there's not an easy answer to it. So at this stage, we are not sure whether the intention would be to be playing behind closed doors completely, as has been seen by the games that are ongoing at the moment, or to have some limited capacity back, whether that be 10, 20, 30% or whatever. So what we have been doing, not that we have got this advice yet, is planning different ways that we might be able to put different attendances within the ground. Clearly, it's not just the seats, but it's also access and egress, welfare facilities, everything that needs to be considered. The EFL are in dialogue with the government, you know, in terms of understanding what might happen with crowds. So we've got to wait for that first part. Then I think, as we just said, the intention is to go on sale with season tickets imminently. And again, last season, for example, we sold up just under 6,000 season tickets. And of course, there may be the opportunity to be able to get all of those fans in at whenever football returns. But I would say that the chances of that happening at first stage is probably not strong, and that there'll have to be other alternatives to that. And I think streaming will be one of those. So we've been contacted by the EFL about our views on streaming. We clearly want to support, you know, both season ticket holders and even match day goers, people being able to buy tickets for the odd game just to watch a game through streaming. So I think that's got to be something that is part of football when it reopens, but equally not just it's not just a short-term thing either. I think streaming and you know, being able to use iFollow are at this stage have been quite limited in the ability to be able to do that. And from our perspective, we think that should be opened up more, you know, to a far greater aspect. And, you know, perhaps in games which the traditional ones, the 3 o'clock kickoffs, that those should be streamed as well for those fans that aren't able to come and might live either abroad, as Simon does, but equally throughout the country, or can't get to a particular game. People want choice. So I think we're very much in favour of opening that up, not just in the short term, but in the longer term.
I think, Simon, as well as mentioning earlier, the financial commitment by so many thousands of Argyle fans in whatever way is possible. This is just this question, isn't it? Underlying the anticipation, the excitement of a new season in League One.
Absolutely. You know, and I think it's important to recognise that it's unlikely, as Andrew said, to be you know, fully available on a live basis. So we're going to look at all ways we can to make it available, you know, some other way. And look, I don't know if everybody's been watching the football that's available, but I've actually found myself watching more football, you know, than I have in the past. You know, it's not just the Bundesliga, not just the Premier League, but I've been watching the Championship. And you know, you get used to it. And I think that Argyle over the last few years we've already made investments in our streaming offering, and as Andrew said, we'll continue to do so, and we'll continue to advocate for an opening up of the live offering to those fans who can't make it to the ground. So we think it's an opportunity, and we hope that the regulations will change so we can take advantage of it.
And what we'll try, I didn't quite answer the question about how we will determine which fans. Clearly, what we'll endeavour to do is when the season ticket announcement comes out, is to clarify how that might work. But I think clearly there's everybody who might want to be able to come in the game may not be able to in the short term. So it will be we'll have to do it as fairly as possible, really, and just work out the best way that we can get the best benefit for the most people that we possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, the next question is to you. It comes from Zach, and I should underline, it's not Zach, the club secretary, but bear in mind the chairman's on this call. What's your favourite thing about working for Plymouth Argyle?
Yeah, I read this one. Do you know what it is? To be honest with you, it's just being left alone to do our job. I've only worked obviously for 2 football clubs, so that's all I can really talk about. And the thing is, the team behind the team, which is me and my staff, and then the team behind my team do their jobs, and we come together and discuss all sorts, whether it's football related or not football related. And I think it's having a good team. Obviously, me and Andrew got a great relationship along with Zach because we're in contact every day. I've got a great relationship with the chairman. All the directors, when we have the board meetings, are fabulous to work with, to speak to, and let alone just managing the football club. I think when we come down to have a look round, and there's a video of me and Shuey just looking at each other saying, wow. And then we said, listen, I think it was all well documented, and in the Sky documentary thing we done, and we said we were going to get it bouncing and we weren't going to lose many games. And I don't want to sit here and be big-headed, because we knew what we were doing, we knew how we were going to go about it, but it just weren't me. It was me, my staff, my players, the team behind my team, which is the board of directors, Andrew, Simon, Zach, and everyone associated. So, and then ultimately the fans. But look, when you're managing a football club like Plymouth Argyle, you've got to like everything about it. So there's not just a few things, there's plenty of things,
I guess, Ryan, that's the sort of thing that comes up in an interview. And when you are interviewed, the way that you work, your working practices will be questioned, and you'll put over what you like to see. But when you get past that stage and you go to a new club, it's putting that into practice, isn't it? And wondering if you will have that freedom.
Yeah, well, when we come, in all honesty, if we'd have come, and I remember Simon saying to me, again, people twist the words and say why I nearly never got the job. It was a bit of fun with me and Simon, and I think if I'd have gone into that interview knowing that I weren't going to have full control over the footballing side of things, I probably wouldn't be Plymouth Argyle manager, because I had a bit of a period where things were trying to get took out my way in the previous job, and I wouldn't stand for it. And I think obviously when Simon said to me, if I asked you to do something, would you do it? And I said, well, yeah, because you're the chairman of the football club. He went, let me rephrase it. If I asked you to play 3 up front when you're only playing 2 up front, what would you say? I'd I'd kindly have a look at it in training. And he turned around and says, is that a polite way of telling me to do one? I said, yeah. So again, look, the relationship, I think from day one, we let the directors do their bit because we trust them. And the directors trust the footballing staff to do our bit, and we trust the football players to go and do their bit. So listen, it all come together. It was right. It was a right fit, and it's been proven because we've done it.
Great, thank you. Simon, the next question is to you. It comes from Darren, who says, does the club have any plans to introduce for supporters the opportunity to purchase shares in Plymouth Argyle, or seek any external investors to help the club's financial situation?
Let me answer the second one first. No, we're not seeking any external investors. I have a policy that if anybody calls up and says, I've got somebody who's interested in buying a stake in Argyle, I always talk to them. I've talked to some interesting people over the last few years, but it's never come to anything, and I fully expect it not to. I always warn people that I'm happy to talk, but the probability of doing anything is very, very low. Argyle is unusual that it has a fan as an owner, and that does make it a little bit different from a lot of clubs. So as I've always said, Argyle is not a business. This is a public asset. It's a community asset, and I'm a steward of that asset. I'm not owning it as a business. So finding somebody else with that approach to football club ownership would be very, very difficult. But I always happy to talk to people. When it comes to offering shares in the club to fans, I know that some would like it, and I have to say it has quite a lot of appeal to me. But we haven't made any progress. There's a lot of regulatory issues. There's a lot of governance issues that would be raised, and we've not made any progress. It's entirely my fault. As the months and years go by, I continue to think about it, but really haven't made much progress. I would just note that where fans have been owners, have been asked to put money in, it's not been terribly successful. I'm thinking about, I think Stevenage last year had a share issue for their fans, and they raised only a fraction of what they hoped to raise. And it's a one-off. You sell shares to somebody, the money comes in one time, and that's it. In some ways, if I was looking for an extra shareholder, we'd want somebody who would be prepared to put money in, when it was necessary. Anyway, sorry, I'm wittering because it's something that's been on my mind. We've not made any progress. It's entirely my fault. But at the moment, there are no plans. But I do recognise that it's something that we should keep under consideration.
Okay, thank you. Still a lot of questions to get through, which we'll do as many as we can. As I said, we'll try and squeeze some YouTube questions in before 3 o'clock. Dan Dolan, Lewis Ayres and Andy Newton want to put a question to you, Andrew. Does the club have plans to bring in electronic advertising boards? I see they use that phrase, not scoreboards, but advertising boards, and or any other electronic information boards like other teams have that could generate more income.
Everything would be under consideration, and it'd be, in this particular case, if the business case stacked up, we would put electronic boards in. However, in League One and League Two, where you don't have as much TV coverage, then the business case for, having eyes, if you like, on those boards probably wouldn't stack up at this stage. Simply because the infrastructure that would be required to do that, and then actually the return in terms of revenue probably wouldn't be high enough unless you've got, as I say, TV. Now, obviously, if other opportunities do open up, whether that be through iFollow or streaming opportunities, then of course that can come under consideration. And we do have an iFollow working group that's looking at all of these things, including looking at whether or not we might actually look at taking streaming, owning streaming ourselves. At the moment, we're part of the EFL membership in terms of iFollow and that area, but we're actually think that we could probably generate a lot more revenue ourselves by having our own streaming opportunities. And so the iFollow group is looking at that, and that would then include perhaps having advertising boards and so on. But at this stage, it wouldn't stack up, I don't think.
Okay.
Sorry, Gordon. Just to interrupt. We did actually, before Andrew came, we had a plan to put a board in that would be basically funded by the advertisers, and there was a good business case, but we had to shelve the plan because it would take out too many seats while we'd lost capacity with the grandstand. So, it's a different world now, as Andrew's explained. So, we'll have to look at the business case again. One thing, I know that Ryan would like one, so that's always to be in the back of our mind. I think the players end up asking the referee how long's left, and it would be nice to have a board up from that point of view, which is not something that had crossed our minds back a few years ago when we last looked at it.
Talking about how football could be in the future, Ryan, Graham puts this question to you, please. Given the financial current situation and the impact it may have long term, how important is the recent investment in the academy? and data analytics as well.
Yeah, listen, the data analytics is, it is good, and there's a lot of stuff on there. I think that the top leagues, the higher you go up, it's very much more important. I think for the people we know in the football, me, Shuey, Neil Dewsnip, and people who work for us outside of the club and go to games and whatnot, it's an eye for a good player and a good lad. But listen, the analytics do stack up as well, and they do help you. But also, I think, the academy is, listen, it's not being as good as we'd liked it. Let's have it right. It's going to get better. We've employed a top coach and a top mentor in Darren Way. And the coaches are getting better through Neil's help, because Neil run Everton's academy for 16 years and produced some quality players. Even Stephen Schumacher, along in that degree, he produced him. But again, along with the Wayne Rooney's of these worlds, he knows what it's about. So he's obviously big on helping that. And we do want to attract the best kids. We've been fortunate enough to have a few kids. We've just give 3 pros to some scholarships, and likes of Adam Randall, Jepcott. Not every manager and every coaching staff gives academy kids a chance. That they're actually scared. Over the years when I've played for football clubs, I remember being a crew and I was harping on to the manager to give a player his game. I was saying, play him. He was 5 foot not, and he would have been probably one of the best players in League Two, and he got injured last season. I don't want to name his name because it's not fair, but we want that. Doesn't matter how big you are, how tall you are. If you've got the right attitude and you're a good footballer, you'll get a chance under me and my staff, because that's what we want. Yeah, it is good for the football club when them kids are coming through, like Luke and Adam Randall and Michael Cooper, and we want more of them. We listen, Crew Alexander, last game of the season of every year for the past so many years, they try and name a team of all academy graduates, so 11 starters. Could we ever do that? Possibly, yeah. Is that our aim? Not necessarily. Our aim is to produce kids and bring kids through the ranks and potentially to sell some players to bigger clubs. Not that we want to sell them all, but we feel that in likes of Jepcott, Adam Randall, and certainly Mike Cooper, these people could make the football club, make Simon a lot of money. And I think it's only fair if a Premiership club comes along for one of these players, we wouldn't stand in the way, because 1, the club would benefit from it, and 2, the kid would potentially go and play at the top level where we feel 1 or 2 can do that. So again, we're open to all things, whether it's academy players, whether it's analytics, whatever gives us an edge and stuff, we're open to it all.
If I could just add, Gordon, I suspect the question comes from the example of some clubs that have embraced data analytics and shut down their academy, on the grounds that they can recruit using data and a scouting network better than they can from an academy. That's not our intention. We very, very much want to instill a culture that embraces data analytics, that uses data analytics combined with the experience of our football people to recruit, to analyze performance, to analyze other clubs and so on. But it doesn't imply that we are not committed to the academy. We think that one of Argyle's competitive advantages is where we are when it comes to the academy. Everybody knows the problems of being in the southwest, being far from anywhere. We all know that our fans travel more than any other fans in the league to away matches over the season. But that actually should enable us to be able to compete effectively as an academy if we invest in it, if we have the right people. We're obviously competing in the southwest with Exeter, with the Bristol clubs, but that's about it. The great example here is Brentford, who are very, very data oriented and shut down their academy a long time ago. But they're competing in West London with QPR, with Chelsea, with Fulham, with, that's just West London. That doesn't apply to us. So, we want our academy to provide good players. We want it to be something that's active in the community. And, as a fan, nothing excites me more than, seeing a manager who's prepared to give kids a chance. I should say that, data demonstrates that playing young kids is not as risky as many managers think. So, data can help in giving people, the confidence to make what appear to be risky decisions. So we're in a very fortunate position that if we can get the management of our academy right, and I think it's right now, as Ryan indicated, we can build a very, very strong, highly competitive academy, and we're blessed with a manager who's prepared to give those kids a chance. So, that's not a coincidence. When we were interviewing a year ago, one of the things that struck me was that everybody we interviewed said, we're going to play attacking football and we're going to give the kids a chance. Well, Ryan's actually delivered both attacking football and giving the kids a chance. So I think that puts us in a great position. So the two are separate. We're going to use data analytics, but we're going to keep the academy.
And the other point worth mentioning is, of course, is the long-term sustainability, which is the aim of the club in terms of, developing players through the ranks, playing a certain style of football, which Ryan will instill in right through the age groups. And then them becoming part of the first team. You're not having them to recruit outside and spending transfer fees, etc. Now, of course, that does happen, but to complement it with your academy players is obviously the ideal way to do that. And great if they can play for the club for a long time, but equally as well, it may be that a Premier League club wants to buy a player, and of course that's great for the club too.
Referring to what you said earlier, Ryan, I was watching your body language as the chairman was giving that response. Good body language there, well done. Simon, I know you touched on this in a little detail earlier. Perhaps you'd just like to briefly add to it if you wish to, from Paul Mann. In the challenging current situation, is there anything we as supporters can do to help?
Yeah, there is. I mean, look, supporters can help us in two ways. One is with money, and again, we completely understand if you're unable to do that. These are very, very tough times, and Argyle is now financially secure. So please, 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 your family comes first, your own health comes first, not Argyle. Argyle's taken care of. But, we still don't know what the future holds. The more cash we have in the bank, the more we're going to be able to cope with whatever comes up over the next 12 months. So anything you can do there, buy stuff from the club shop. Father's Day present from my daughters, by the way. I hope there's a link to where you can buy this merchandise down below. Buy stuff from the club shop, buy a season ticket if you can, do anything you can to help us financially. But even more important, is talk about us, talk about the good things Argyle are doing, talk about the football we play, talk about what we're doing in the community. We want Argyle to be, as our vision and value statement says, supported or respected by everybody in the Southwest and many beyond. We know that some fans are going to support us, whatever we produce. We know that we're going to be able to attract some fans because of the style of football that Ryan's bringing to the club and that we hope will be at the club, forevermore. But it's that respect that we want from the community in Plymouth and the rest of the region. So, if you think we're doing a good job, please tell your friends. And in some ways, that's going to have a more lasting impact than buying this fantastic and very modestly priced shirt.
So at 3 o'clock, everyone, at the end of this, go to the Argyle Superstore website and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. The next question.
I think it's Andrew, Gordon. The other thing I was just going to add as well is I think the support that we've had thus far has been unbelievable. I mean, Simon touched on the crowdfunding, etc., but the two kits that have been launched thus far have had a tremendous response, well up on sales on last year. And obviously there's a third kit coming as well. So that's another great opportunity to be able to, get another present, whether it be Father's Day or birthday or indeed Christmas.
Or treat yourself.
A
just treat yourself, for you, Andrew, which is very close to my heart, having every single Argyle programme since the Dell was born. Karen Palmer asks, is Argyle planning a 2-match day programme affair next season, like last season, one for adults and one for the younger supporters?
It's still under consideration, so we are looking at that. But I think we've got to bear in mind that programmes don't make the club any money, unfortunately. They're great keepsake to have, and people want to remember the game they went to, etc. But unfortunately, not enough people buy them. And I would say the content within our programme is second to none. It really is very, very good. But these days, unfortunately, people want different things. So I think we've got to put it under review and look at what is the best way that we can give a programme of some sort, but do it in a cost-effective way as well.
And continuing with you, Andrew, Simon highlighted recently a tweet from Rochdale with a very large number of players not being offered new contracts. Simon flagged up this sort of possibility in a chairman's update. Do you still think, Simon, you can chip in as well on this, there'll be quite a few other clubs in this situation, and would that more or less be what you originally suspected?
Is that me? Yeah. Yeah, I thought from the start that it would be highly likely that clubs would suffer in the absence of someone willing to fund them. Again, football clubs have at the moment costs and no revenues. So there's a gap. And that gap means that you're going to face bankruptcy if it goes on for too long. Some clubs will get that funding from shareholders, so that's been the case with Argyle. It's been the case, I think, with Bristol Rovers as well. But other clubs seem to be going out and giving long-term contracts without any clarity about how they're going to be able to pay for those contracts. So I think football, is very, very precarious. A lot of clubs will be precarious unless we can get back to playing not behind closed doors, but in front of all our fans again. Again, just to be clear, Argyle is like many clubs in the lower leagues that we are dependent upon ticket revenues. We're dependent upon our fans for revenues. And it's our fans coming to the ground, it's buying tickets, buying a pint, buying a pasty, maybe paying a premium for the hospitality offering. But that is the majority of our revenues. It's not the same as the Premier League or the Championship, where the majority of revenues come from media income. So until we can play in front of full crowds, football in the lower leagues is going to be very, very precarious. And that brings us back to, I think, the first or second question, that we are going to be very, very patient about assembling a squad. We don't want to put Argyle at risk, one. And secondly, we think that the market for players is going to come our way, that, maybe we're not going to get the player that, a very, very wealthy club is going to sign this week. But if we're prepared to wait, we think that, very, very good players will become available at very, very good prices. So, we think both that we're going to be able to remain financially secure and assemble a very competitive squad for Ryan.
And is it something, Ryan, that you've noticed in contract negotiations or when you're sounding out new players?
Well, we haven't signed new players as yet. We've just re-signed the ones that were with us. As I said before, Sparky, we've got stages, and we've done stage one. We'll move on to stage two. And then, look, as Simon said, we've got to be cautious because, look, at the end of the day, who's going to pay these players? Simon put plenty of money into the football club, so we have to be cautious on that. And as he said, a lot of people's contracts won't finish until the 31st of July anyway, because you have a severance pay of July. I think the last 2 weeks in July might start heating up a little bit because maybe one or two players will panic and look to clubs. We've got our targets. If something special pops up and it fits our programme and fits our criteria, and we think, well, it would have cost us too much 4 weeks ago or 4 months ago and it's changed, then we'll have a look at it. But regardless of the money or the wages, we'll make sure we stick to our structure and our plan with our recruitment policy we've done. But as I say, you never know what pops up. If it can help us, then great, we'll have a look at it. If it can't, we'll just stick to what we've done. So in terms of the contracts, I think a lot of football clubs will be in the same boat, offering different contracts if different things happen, how it'll work, how your monies will be judged. So again, look, we're just happy where we are. We've re-signed more or less all our players we wanted to re-sign. One or two will move on, which we know. We're still waiting on one. But again, we'll just wait and see what happens. As I say, we need dates first and foremost to when we're going to be back playing football.
Do you want to add a CEO's perspective to that briefly, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just to underline what Simon said, is that in terms of the revenue, we would generate about £8.5 million worth of revenue a year. 3 million of that comes from ticket revenue. You add on then hospitality revenue, which clearly we wouldn't be getting at this stage. And then the other thing is non-match day. So building the Mayflower Grandstand was with a purpose to be able to use the facility to its maximum. And of course, at the moment, we can't use that. So there's clearly a big gap in the finances. However, when it becomes clearer how football might restart and whether we can get fans in, we can start business modelling then as well, and then look at what we might be able to afford, and of course then that will allow us then to be able to pull together the budget that's required to be competitive. All of those things need to take shape in quite a quick piece of time. Of course, at the moment we don't know when the window will open again for being able to have those negotiations. So it's a kind of process, as Ryan alluded to, going through different stages, but that stage has to be mirrored as well with the stages that we have to go through from a understanding how the finances will work as well.
Absolutely. Right. Sorry, just to add even more onto that, I think one of the first questions was about how we can calculate a budget with so much unknown. I mean, everything is unknown, but that doesn't mean that you can't make decisions. Not making a decision is, in fact, a decision. So, we've had to do scenario analysis. We've had to look at all the possible things that could happen. And that's why I put so much money in. It's not because we're in imminent danger or anything, but it's basically to preserve the options. Until you sign that player, you have options. Until you build that grandstand, you have options. And, really that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to preserve our options, look at all the possible outcomes, because there really is just so much uncertainty. But, you have to move ahead, and you have to start making some decisions, even in the face of uncertainty.
Great, thanks.
Of course, that's underlined by the retained list that
absolutely
the players that Ryan wanted to keep as well. That's your first hurdle.
If you did join us after 3 o'clock, you can watch a replay on the YouTube channel, the Plymouth Argyle YouTube channel. We're also live on the PAFC website as well. We never have numbers for the website, but live on the YouTube channel at the moment, we have over 1,000 viewers. So you're keeping everybody engaged, gentlemen. And big credit to Dan and everybody in the Argyle media team who have put this broadcast together. And they told me I've got to ask this question. It's a question from me, which is rather embarrassing. Would you ever consider commentating on Argyle again? Your dulcet tones will never be top, says Jack Leslie. Great name. I had 32 years, Jack. This is why I'm grey. I do the breakfast show as well, and I just fancied a breather at the weekend. And what Simon allows me to do as ambassador on match days and beyond with other things as well. I'm loving that involvement with the club. But I think 2,000 games in the commentary box was probably enough for your ears anyway. But thank you, Jack. Now, Simon, thank you for your financial commitment, says David Horn, to safeguard the future of our beloved club. With a review of social distancing to possibly 1 metre underway, has the club calculated the number of fans that might be allowed into attend games if the go-ahead is given by the government, bearing in mind other factors, such as comfort breaks at half-time?
I'm going to pass that one on to Andrew. The one thing that I would say is that I've spoken to a couple of other owners who've gone through and done it. This is part of the planning in the face of uncertainty that we obviously have to do. It's going to be very, very club specific. Everything depends upon egress and entry egress. But a kind of rule of thumb looks like it's going to be somewhere between 20 and 50% of full capacity. But I think it's probably best if Andrew fills in some of the details, if there are any.
Yeah, we have been doing, going back to the word scenario planning, we have been doing some of this work already and looking at different models that may work. But again, there'll be some things that we'd have to go through. It's not just the seating. I think, as the question has put it, you have to think about toilet provision. You have to think about concessions, whether you have them, you don't. You have to think about people coming in. The speed of people coming in, how much they accumulate. And the other thing I think is do you bring fans back in as part of their bubble, as it were, so family groups as opposed to individuals as well. So there's quite a lot of different ways that this could actually work. Once that has been done, even when we've done that, we then have to go and liaise with the local council, of course, for the safety advisory group to make sure that they're happy with the safety requirements that are in place and social distancing, etc. And of course, we have to be in dialogue with the EFL about that. And as a whole raft of testing will be required, both obviously for the players, as we've seen in the games that have been played up to now, but that will be the same in some form, I'm sure, for fans too. So whilst we can plan a lot of these things, again, goes back to the point is there isn't any clear way forward at this stage, and we have to just kind of look at and consider all the different things that may work.
Let's go to the first of our YouTube subscribers this afternoon. It's a question for you, Ryan, from Jordan Smith, who wants to know, is Callum re-signing for the football club, signing an extension to a contract, because all the other pros have done theirs now, haven't they?
Yeah, well, Callum McFadden, so we've given Fads a little bit more time. He's obviously his partner come down halfway through the season, or the start of the season, and left halfway through the season. She was pregnant, not long had a baby boy, so congratulations to them. We're going to give him a bit of time because obviously it's a big thing for him. He was down here on his own. And again, look, we sort of, with Callum, we love him. We know what type of player he is. He's in League One now. He wants to, keep playing in League One, but ultimately, you have to give him a little bit more time because it's a family decision, and we respect that. It's the same, SARS left, family reasons, family decisions. We have to respect that. So we'll give Fads a little bit more time until, probably the end of the month, because there's no rush, as I said. We've got to sort of slowly but surely get our signings in. So we'll make sure we get the right decision. I don't want any player down here half-hearted. We've got to be fully committed, and at the moment, Fads is in between, loves the football clubs, love working with us. Had another great season with us, 2 back-to-back promotions as well, along with the other lads. So he's really pleased, had a fantastic season. So I think the respect has to be there, mutual, that we make sure we do it right and give him the time that he deserves.
Now, the Argyle Army have sent a question. I don't know how many there are in this particular army. Thoughts on the possibility of having a statue for Jack Leslie, as well as the plaques which we have now adorning the entrances and inside the new boardroom, Simon? We're fully aware that there's a Jack Leslie statue campaign. We support that campaign, but I think it's appropriate that we leave it to the fans. Argyle has made our statement about racism, and we've made our view on racism clear. We've named the boardroom after Jack Leslie as a victim of racism in the past. So I think that we've done a little bit as a club. We'll continue to do stuff with dealing with racist incidents within the ground where we can. But I really, really like the idea that this movement for a statue to Jack Leslie is driven by the fans. So it's got our support, but we're going to leave it to the fans to get that done. Okay. Another YouTube viewer wants to put a question. I think we'll get Ryan's reaction to this one first. It's from Steve, who says, do you think it's better for Argyle if Exeter City win promotion on Monday?
Now, do you know what? Listen, again, I don't care who gets promotion, really. This the thing with Exeter. Everyone thinks, like, me and Matt Taylor go back a long, long way, and I've got utmost respect for Matt Taylor. And I know the rivalry with the football clubs. Listen, I'd probably, ideally, Exeter, because we only have to travel half an hour instead of 5 hours. So maybe that's a one short distance team. But again, I think 2 teams who've got there have fully deserved. Northampton were excellent against Cheltenham. Disappointed for Duffers. But again, look, may the best team win. I'm fine whoever comes up. I think they're 2 good teams, two good managers, locking on together. So listen, I think, yeah, you know what? I'd like Exeter because we've got to get them payback time in it. So hopefully Exeter, and we can pay the fans back with that 4-0 dribbling everyone keeps talking about when we've just had promotion. So yeah, Exeter.
And of course, a Devon derby virtually guarantees a full house and helps the finances, doesn't it? Absolutely. But it's not just about finances. It's about the. I'll be rooting for Exeter on Monday. The excitement of the derby. I've got a lot of respect for Exeter. I know their chairman. We get on very, very well. I think I sometimes get a bit upset with the kind of extent of the bitterness against our local rivals. They're a club that have limited resources. They've done a fantastic job. I think they deserve our respect, whilst at the same time we clearly need to make up for what happened last year, don't we, Ryan? As Ryan said. So
yeah,
I look forward to pulverising them. But it's great for Devon football to have Exeter in the same division, and all respect for a very well-run club. We got. Sorry, there's one other thing. Let's not forget.
that Exeter were ahead of us in the division for a long time. And I mentioned in a letter in the Herald a couple of weeks ago that, we needed to acknowledge what Bradford and Port Vale did by, supporting the points per game system that got us promoted. Exeter supported that as well, despite the fact it ended up with them being in the playoffs. So I think we need to acknowledge Exeter's role in our promotion.
We've got 6 minutes left. Can we do a lot of quick fire ones, because we're getting inundated seriously with questions on YouTube? Andrew, I think you answered this one earlier, and this comes from Bob. Is the demand for the new shirts higher than in previous seasons, therefore giving the club much needed revenue?
It's been fantastic, really been fantastic. Both kits have gone really well. And as I said, the third one's coming out soon too. So wait for that one.
Okay. Ryan, David asks, have you been able to arrange any pre-season plans for friendlies, tours, training regimes? It must be a real challenge at this time.
Yeah, listen, as Andrew and Simon said before, we're scenario planning every other day. We probably will play a lot of non-league teams again round the area this time, because we may not be able to travel too far in hotels and whatnot. We did have a couple of friendlies lined up, which would have been good. I don't want to tease the Green Army with that and disappoint them, but they would have been good this season. And we'll just plan. We'll continuously plan and see what's out there, but we'll do our best to get good pre-season games. Yeah.
Robert asks, are you disappointed that people in Plymouth and the surrounding areas don't support their local teams? A rallying call, Simon? Absolutely.
But look, again, as I've said, Argyle has been on the road to recovery over the last 10 years, and it's been slow but steady progress. I think, everything that we've done in the last few years suggests that we're investing in making Argyle a better club, not just a better football team, but a better club. And, a rallying call, please, please, please support us. Tell your friends the good job we're doing in the community. It's not the same old Argyle. So, yeah, please, we think we deserve your support, which I don't think is something that we can always say about Argyle in the history.
Lack of Man United shirts, that's what I'll say.
No that's okay, Ryan.
No more Man United shirts. I've seen plenty of them around Plymouth.
Yeah.
Plymouth or Liverpool will take that.
Not even Liverpool. Sorry, Ryan. I wondered where he was going with that one.
I'm joking.
Andrew, Blake makes a point about younger supporters thinking the club can do more to get youngsters in the ground for a less price or even free of charge. They'll spend money when they're there with accompanying adults. It has to be better than empty seats. Of course, much depends on how many seats the club is allowed to fill when we resume.
Yeah, I agreed. I think we did a lot last season with the season tickets for the youngsters, which were very cheap. But we recognise as well we need more youngsters in, and that has to be about the whole match day experience too. Clearly, that's we do a lot with the community, with schools at half time, entertainment, etc. But I think everything which we've just said around community and the younger age group falls into that. So I think we've done a lot over this last year, but hopefully we can do a lot more too. So I think more and more will come their way for sure.
And our under 8 season ticket is £10, Simon?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't qualify, Gordon, so I can't say I know the details.
One from Debbie. Will there be any promotion celebration when the fans are able to return? I think City Bus has only got 2 buses without roofs. I don't know if you need a fleet of them with social distancing. Can we have a parade or something when we're allowed to?
Listen, yeah, from my point of view, for the players and the staff, they certainly deserve something along with the fans, because the hard work we've done. Yeah, obviously the season was curtailed on a point per game, but we were going to win the league anyway, regardless, for me and my staff and the club. But we've got where we've got to. Certainly we're planning. I've spoke to Andrew briefly on 1 or 2 things, but we will certainly make sure the celebrations for all once it's possible.
Okay, a couple of quickies. Josh, Ryan, will we see a cardboard cutout of you at Wembley? Because Josh wants to know your reaction when you saw yourself in the fans' cardboard cutout area at St James Park, and then the cheeky blighters put a City scarf on you, didn't they?
Do you know what? When I first seen, I was doing the Sky game, weren't I, live, and I got a picture sent through, and I thought, you know what, fair play, good banter, and then even better for the Exeter fans, because I think I would have took it away But to be fair to them, they put a scarf around my neck. So listen, I just hope it's on in the van to Wembley. I believe it is, because they need that little bit of luck, won't they? And if I'm in the stand, they may get it. So now listen, I think fair play.
You might be sat next to Osama bin Laden as well.
Moving on. Final
I'm backing Ryan to win that one.
Final one to you, Simon. It's from Steve Taylor. Plymouth, the biggest city in the country, never to have reached the top league.
Yeah.
What's your long-term vision for the club, and do you have a timed target to reach that milestone?
Yeah, we do. Look, our vision is available, and our vision and value statement on our website. It's to be supported or respected by everybody in the Southwest and many beyond. We've talked a lot in the past about how we gain that respect on the field and off the field. And I think we're making great progress. Last Christmas, around Christmas, after a big board away day, we came out with our mission statement, which was to be a sustainable championship club within 5 years. So, we've made a very good step towards progress towards the championship. We're halfway there after last season. The goal of sustainability, though, is critical. And that means financial stability. It means our revenues, matching our expenses and not having expenses more than our revenues, which has been the case for the last few years. But obviously that path to sustainability has only been achievable through putting more money in. And that is not our goal. I want Argyle to be completely financially secure if I were to get hit by the bus. So, there our plans have been delayed because we've had 3 or 4 months with no revenues. We're probably going to have revenues way below our targets over the next 6 months. But that is our mission, to be sustainable in the championship, where sustainable means financially secure and a reasonable probability of being able to stay there. And I think that by being smarter with our money, by continuing to invest in our infrastructure, to invest in people, we will have a good chance of being able to survive in the championship with the crowds that we have, with the fan support that we have, that hopefully will grow, and with the revenue base that we will be able to generate when football goes back to normal. But that's it. 5-year mission, sustainable championship club.
It's great to finish on a positive, and I think all of you gentlemen have continued the philosophy of Argyle, having an open and transparent line of communication with all of us as supporters. So if your friends who weren't able to watch this afternoon say who said what news came out, implore them, rather than pass on little details you might miss, get them to watch a replay on the Plymouth Argyle YouTube channel at your comfort and convenience. And Simon, Ryan, Andrew, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure for an hour that's whizzed by. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and hope we do it again.
Hey, Gordon, I have a request. Can you say hello to Jane, please?
Jane, hello, Jane. I hope Jane is wearing a homemade Argyle-related jewellery this morning. And I read on a quick tweet that she said she went to a shop for the first time. And could we guess what sort of shop it was? I would have said jewellery. What was it?
I was shocked that nobody guessed that. It was to the wine shop.
Of course. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. And let's hope we see you back at Home Park, particularly very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon.